Hello, everybody. I just finished putting a new stereo in the car. This Sony here. You gotta excuse the video. I'm using my phone. I just fitted a Sony in there just because the old thing was terrible. This is my 2003 Suzuki Alto. Now, yeah, thank you, Sony. I thought I would take this opportunity to make a video that I felt needed to be made just for myself. Was some of the weird things about this car that just don't make sense, and some things that do. The first, as you might notice, is this does not say anything about the manufacturer on the steering wheel. Usually, you have either the name, the Suzuki, or you would have the S, or whatever car you've got. You'll usually have something there that says who made this car. And the fact is that the steering wheel says nothing. The dash, I know it doesn't often, but sometimes it does, but that doesn't say anything. There's nothing anywhere in this car that tells you that you're in a Suzuki. And it's just the strangest thing. And it might be to do with the fact that this car was built in India by an Indian company called Maruti, who use Suzuki parts and are able to sell them as Maruti Suzukis. So my engine under the bonnet doesn't say Suzuki, it actually says Maruti, which is quite strange. Another strange thing about this, if I make sure the ignition's on there. Now, these buttons, they all seem quite normal buttons. This one, you push to switch on my hazard lights. Push it again, switches off. This is the rear screen. Push it to switch it on. I know the engine's not running, so the light won't come on. But you push it again to switch it off. This is a blank because it's obviously the cheaper model. Doesn't have whatever was meant to be here. Might be air conditioning or something. But this one is stupid. Look, fog light on. But if you push that again, the fog light doesn't go off. In fact, I'm going to switch on the ignition here just so we can see this in action, hopefully. So if I switch on my lights, there we go. Alright, so repeat. There's your hazards. There's the rear screen on and off. There's a fog light. No, you have to press an off button. Why? Who had this job? Who decided that this would be a good way to make a button? Let's have this one push on and push off. This one push on and push off. This one, no, you need a dedicated off button because you're too stupid to realize how to switch off your fog light. I don't get it. It's really annoying. I don't understand it. I'm really not sure what's going on there. So that kind of irks me. That is kind of annoying. The rest of the car isn't too bad, but one thing I do like, and I've had a few Japanese cars in my time. I've had a couple of Suzukis. I've had a Honda. I've had a Toyota. And they were all great. But one thing that I like about this car, and my mother used to have a Mazda, which was the same, is that on this side, this stock here, is the wiper control, and the wipe and the wash, and the rear wipe. Over here, can I turn this? Yes, over here is the indicator, and the lights, Now, this is something that's bothered me for quite some time, is that when cars are made for a majority market, they are made to suit that market. So in the UK, we drive on the left, which means that all the controls, in my opinion, should be this way around, because you find that cars made in Europe on the continent or in the States or other countries, you find that when more countries, and I believe I'm right when I say that there are more countries drive on the right than drive on the left, the manufacturers get really lazy And normally indicators are over here. If you're in a right-hand drive market, you'll find your indicator is over here because your gear stick will be over on the right-hand side. Mine isn't. Mine's on the left here, and therefore I should have this hand free to change gear and do what I'm doing here instead of jumping from changing gear to indicating to whatever I'm doing here. This should be the way it should be done. I keep my hand on the wheel at all times. I don't have to take my hand off the wheel to change the indicators. My left hand is doing the gear changing and staying down here, or I'm able to jump between. This is the way it should be. Now, of course, because this is an Indian market car, which has come across to the UK, well, in this part of India, they drive like the UK do because it's a former British colony. They drive on the left-hand side. So this was manufactured for the market, by the market that it came from where that country was. This makes sense. Whereas my mother-in-law's Honda Jazz over there has indicators on the left-hand side and not the right, and it just doesn't make any sense at all. It's just ridiculously stupid. How much does it cost? It clearly, when manufacturers... I mean, even the Honda, actually that's a strange one because that's a Japanese car, and in Japan they drive on the left, and yet the indicators are over on the left-hand side. Now, is that to do with the fact that they export more than they use? I don't know. But this just doesn't make any sense. All these other manufacturers, they have to move the wheel from over there to over here. So why can't they just switch these around? Why can't they have... I mean, how much does it cost them to make one of these... Without focus. How much does it cost them to make one of those that's printed the other way around over here? It clearly can't be that much. Honest to God, it can't be that much. How is that not possible? They can move the wheel, they can move the pedals over, everything like that, but they can't change your controls, your column controls. It does not make any sense. I'm baffled by that. If anybody can shed some light on that, I would love to hear it. So that's kind of what throws me for this car. The rest of the car, I tell you what, if you don't have one of these, or if you've never driven one, they're a completely bargain basement budget car. It's so cheap to run, it's unbelievable. I get about 64 miles to the gallon out of this thing, and it costs me 30 quid a year to tax it. Which reminds me, I need to get my tax. So it's really, honestly, cheap thrills. But I feel that this is a better driving car than my wife's 2011 Fiat Panda. I know a lot of people don't like Fiats, and so they'll probably chime in and say, oh, that's because Fiat are crap. I don't care. This is cheap, built to a budget. It doesn't have any luxuries. This is all just kind of plastic. It's all cheap plastic. This is the only bit of comfort you get. This slightly cushioned, and when I say slightly, I mean about the thickness of the material. This pad here for where your elbow goes when you get your hand down here, and there's one over there. There's the box for the stereo. There's one there, and that's about it. The rest of it is just plastic, but cheap. But it goes. I did actually have to get under the car today and change a fuse because I blew the fuse. This cigarette lighter socket kind of unscrewed itself, came apart and shorted out the stereo and the clock and the power. So I had to get under the dashboard, and this being a tiny little car made it incredibly difficult to get under there. But I managed, so I celebrated by putting the stereo in there. Although I've actually had this stereo I've had this thing for a while and I've never fitted it. It's just been sitting in the box because I was going to give it to my dad and then he didn't want it. So it's in there now, so I'm happy. So I've now got my decent tunes on the go. Although I only have 2 speakers and that's it. And it's tinny. But I don't care. I've got music again. I'm happy. If you've got a weird car or a car with weird things about it, post a response or tell me about it. I want to know about these things. It's little details like this that people don't consider that I think would just feels like the manufacturer could go that little bit extra effort and they don't, and I would love to know what other simple things they could do, but they don't do that you've experienced. And I'm going to put one on about the wife's Fiat Panda because that's got a ridiculously stupid thing that I need to talk about. So I'm going to do that one at some point soon as well. All right, that's me. Take care. Cheerio.